I honestly believe that founder can become a bottleneck for the development of a social organization. And I think a lot of my personal opinions really limited the development of the organization.
Welcome back, everybody. Rich Baker, Shanghai-based, mission-driven entrepreneur here today with my good friend, founder of Dialogue in the Dark. She is one of the most experienced, seasoned social entrepreneurs in the space.
Hi, my name is Shiyin. I'm the founder and CEO for Dialogue in the Dark social enterprise in China.
When you started Dialogue in the Dark, what was the original mission? Like, what was the problem that you saw?
My first experience was the meeting with Sabria Tembakan, the founder of the blind school in Tibet. So I met her in Austria, and she was probably the first blind person I've ever encountered that closely in my life. And she really shocked me, completely changed my perception about blind people. I visited her school in Tibet in 2009. That really changed my life.
You're setting up a social enterprise. You're bringing the model into China. What was that process like?
And at that time, nobody knew what social enterprise was in China. We were probably one of the first. We started very little. We try to save as much money as we can. But we encountered a lot of problems because the government policies changed. At the very beginning, we had an NGO set up. And then we were told, after 1 year, we were told that, well, NGO cannot take investment. So we had to set up a company. So it's like a hybrid model. But the company's responsibility is only to take investments. And then it can inject into the social enterprise, the NGO, and the NGO can carry out all the activities. The problem is, I think before us, very, very few NGOs had the ability to generate income themselves. And so all their model was to take donation. They think it's all mistakes. As an NGO, you're not supposed to generate income. Right. So we had to, in 2014, move all the activities and income over to the company. But again, it creates problems. So we still had the NGO, right? So if it doesn't have income, what shall we do? So the NGO was only carrying out activities that we don't charge any money. But we don't take donations. Right. So the NGO basically cannot survive. So we were like basically going back and forth. And now we were again told, yes, NGO can generate income, but you cannot distribute a dividend, which is the correct way. Right. But because we went through this whole detour, we had a lot of trouble.
And I always found the administration work to be kind of like, oh, it's always moving around. But on the front end, did you find that your government relations were much more engaging, or was it still also like this give and take and a lot of education?
I think it really depends on the city. In Chengdu, we originally worked with the government. So our relationship was much easier, right, and they were a lot more supportive. In Shanghai, we're almost completely commercial. Okay. So we rent space from the department store, we pay our rent. But I do find the relationship between us and the government getting better and better. I think it's also a learning curve for the government to realize the importance of us. And we've been here for almost 10 years. So right, till 2021, March will be completed, right, 10 years. We really saw the trend. Mm-hmm. Government was very suspicious at the very beginning, and their mindset was a lot more behind towards the disability. So I mean, in this 10 years, I would say the main job we were doing was education. And to me, educating the government is probably one of the most important things because they are the policy makers. That
conversation kind of makes me think a little bit about how I look at my own organization, how we first started in the mission, and now how we see it now. When I first started, it was very much like, what can we do? Right? Even when we got the license, the government's like, we want to do all this. I'm like, no. What can we do? Like, it was about us. But now it's more like, how can I do more with, say, a great government partnership, with a great foundation partnership, and scale this way beyond what I ever thought could happen, and definitely whatever we are capable of doing. Absolutely. How do you see that for your own organization?
Coming from business background, and especially working for corporate America for so long, I'm more straightforward and always like, this is the way we're gonna do it. But with time, I really realized this is really not the way to do things in China. And we need to build more partnerships as much as possible. So with partnerships, we would make more people aware of us,
Right.
and more people experience it, and more people can get educated.
What is the Dialogue in the Dark experience? What does the organization do?
We have the experience for the general public, which is you buy a ticket and you take a tour in the dark for like 60 to 70 minutes. And in the tour, there are different settings. So you can really explore the world with the other four senses, without sight, but all the other four senses. And we say, you see the world in a new way. And so we call that as an empathy education, because most people, I would say 99% of the people after the experience, they will view the blind people or the other disabled people differently. They realize, oh, we are actually more equal. We are able to do, I understand how blind people now can do a lot of things.
Yeah. How do you measure the success that you're having or the impact that you're having to expand empathy, to expand understanding about people with different abilities?
Yeah, for corporates, we do questionnaires. So after the activity, every one of them will fill out a questionnaire and let us know how much impact is on them. It's fascinating, we did a survey. It's about 65% of the employees, you will see immediately behavior change, and that's phenomenal.
Right.
Because most trainings, it's really difficult to see behavior change. So we do a lot of after surveys and reviews and interviews, and interesting enough is we find that after 5 years, 60% of the people that can still remember their guides or the trainers' names.
Wow. All right, now you said that the main goal is to affect change externally, that it's not about the person with the abilities, right? But I would also like to explore the fact that you've done some extraordinary stuff with your community of blind people, and particularly in the marathons. And you've allowed them to actually grow and realize things that they couldn't do before. Why did you decide to start encouraging blind people to run and run long distance?
So at the very beginning, it was just two of my blind employees, and because I love marathons, so I run and they wanted to run. So we just wanted to take them start running. And then, we find that the impact was a lot bigger than we ever expected. One is, it really, of course, from the health perspective. And the two is a lot of blind people, especially for the totally blind ones. And they told us, that was the moment they can really feel free. And the three is, their majority of them never taken a train, wow, never flown a plane, never gone outside of their city, and now they could.
Right. All right, so I'm going to go back for the last segment of this on the organization itself. You had the crazy idea to start the organization. You had the crazy idea to set up a bunch of exhibitions. You had an even more insane idea to start a bunch of marathons. What is the future when it comes to the organization in terms of like leadership development and how the organization will go forward? Because you've been with us for 10, 15 years. I know that you've got other things that you work on and you want to empower your people. How do you look at leadership kind of going forward of the organization? How do you envision the organization's kind of path going forward?
I honestly believe that founder can become a bottleneck for the development of a social organization. When you fund this, you have a lot of personal ideas, and I think a lot of my personal opinions actually really limited the development of the organization. So I really want to see it growing. So I'm actively seeking successors. And just starting this year, we're looking for investment as well. For not necessarily we will take the BAMS, but as one of the options.
Right.
We are also looking into the option to set up a foundation, probably to fund the whole the organization. So
black screen.
yeah. So we explore different ways, and we really wanted to make it sustainable.
So what are some key things that you are either focused on planning through and for, or worried about as part of your leadership succession?
One thing is really, I mean, we've looked at a lot of people, and it's very difficult to get a person with both the passion for the social mission and the business acumen. Of course, I would much prefer a business background person, but we found a lot of executives come stepping into social enterprises with a lot of stereotypes coming from the corporations. There is a long learning curve on that.
Right.
And two is really the sustainability on the financial model, because so far in the past 10 years, of course, every time we had cash flow issues, it's my personal to endeavor to keep it going, right? So if you find a successor, we don't know, whether that could be possible.
Right.
So I think probably, getting some investors or some impact investment funds could be a possibility, so that we can also hire better professionals to manage the organization. And to set up a foundation is also one of the options, because that can probably make the finance more sustainable, and we can bring in more supporters, more influential people to support the organization. So those are all options that we have.
You have multiple cities, and I'm sure you had big aspirations about changing the world when you started this. What has been your experience with scale? How did you actually open up the 3, 4, 5 cities and all these experiences? Like, how do you get that done? Because it's very difficult.
Yeah, scaling is still a big challenge for us. 10 years back when I started this, I thought, we can open 10 dialogue centers in 5 years. Now we still have 3. It is, I think the key thing for scaling is the right people. You need to find the right person locally. And we made it a mistake in Chengdu. Actually, we started a place and then we find the people, and it took us much longer, and we took a very long detour, and we burned a lot of money because we didn't have the right people. We changed the general manager 4 times.
Wow.
And now it's the right one.
Yeah.
But if we could have had it in the very beginning. So it's really to find the local hero that really buy in your social values and really has the passion to develop the whole thing is very important.
Were you planning and thinking when you were scaling, or were you just like, opportunity, go, and then work it out afterwards?
It was really not that way. I mean, Chengdu was, the government came to us, so it was more opportunities came to us. And Shenzhen was also one of our team members moved back to Shenzhen, and he would like to start it.
Okay.
And also, a lot of problems, bumpy road. And I would also advise everybody, when you scale the business, when you go somewhere, you yourself, if you want to plant a seed somewhere, you yourself need to stay there long enough, minimum 6 months, to hold the hands of the local people to help develop the whole thing. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Right.
That's what I find. I mean, that's probably different, a social enterprise from a commercial business, because the mission is just so important, and it is so easy, especially in China, to go sideways and to go the wrong way. So so that's definitely.
If you're talking to yourself 10 years ago, maybe even 15 when you first got started on this path, what is some advice you'd give to yourself? I mean, a lot of our viewers are going to be students who are interested in entrepreneurship, sustainable entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, or social entrepreneurs who are new and stuck. Or new and trying to be inspired and learn so they figure out how to scale. So what are a few lessons you would give to the audience about growing an organization?
If I get to flashback to 10 years back, before I started Dialogue in the Dark, I would tell myself, number one thing is really be humble and never take things for granted. and never think that your old way can work. Do as much study, as much research as possible before you make a decision. Use your business mindset. A social enterprise is an enterprise. It's a business. It's a commercial business. So you need to think as a commercial business first. It's a startup. Just don't burn a whole bunch of cash. It's just at the very beginning, keep it small and just slowly, steady, build it up. And also, I think the third thing is to get as many supporters as you can. But be very careful with partnership.